welcome to the Amy Edwards Show. I'm your host, Amy Edwards, and we are here to keep up-leveling our lives to get to that next best version, to make every day better than the last at absolutely any age. I am thrilled that you're here. Every time you're showing up. Like you're showing up to level up. You're like, hey, universe, guess what? I'm here for it. And we are so here for it today. Oh my gosh, we're with somebody who's pushed me out of my comfort zone. I guess I get pushed out of my comfort zone a lot, but this one was big. So I'm so excited to do this and welcome our guest today. So welcome to you and welcome to our guest, Samantha Charles. Samantha is a Somatic Priestess. She is all about womb healing, feminine embodiment, sacred sexuality, and our own wisdom that we can lean into that is within us. And she is also the podcast host of Grow As We Go and the host of Yoni casting ceremonies. And yep, that is exactly what it sounds like. And I have participated. And I just want to throw in there too, she is also a mom to 2 boys. I think it's wild that you have 2 boys, Sam. And that's so interesting. And so I want to welcome you, Sam, today. Thank you so much for taking time to talk.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on here. I'm excited to dive into all this. And it's funny to hear you talking already about that it was push out of your comfort zone because you seem so comfortable there.
Oh, well, I think that it's a progressive thing, right? You make progress a little bit at a time. You and I both, we met at a retreat with Leola and Sophia last year, which I met them through my sex series last year, which was pushing me in new ways. And, we did things like Yoni gazing there. And I thought that was, that's pushing your edges a little bit, right? That's really coming into appreciating yourself in a whole new way. And your Yoni, your femininity, your pussy, and like saying those words without pulling back a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm excited because we're going to talk about your new offering, which you are offering these Yoni casting kits at home. And so we're going to get into that and how people can do this and experience this. So if you're curious about it, you can keep it, at home, private, or with your SO, whatever that is. But I want to know, what pushes your edges now? And how did you come into this work and get over those humps yourself? Or was it always something you were really comfortable with?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's funny because I feel like I've always been a relatively open and comfortable person, just like in general, and in my friend group, I was the weird one that was always talking about sex and enjoyed sex, a lot of my friend group, the girls didn't like sex as much as I did. And so I was the one that's a guy, and I was like, man, I don't know. I think something's wrong with y'all.
Yeah. I mean, really, it's not that it's wrong with us, but it's we have that
right.
power to be
Something
open
to
it.
at,
So
maybe,
you, yeah, yeah. So you did, you had it within you. You were comfortable.
Yeah. And I went to therapy and was in the world of looking, just self-reflection at kind of a young age, 15, 16, and just really got involved in the self-growth world. I kind of joke that I'm a self-growth junkie. And in the last, I would say 2 years or so, 2-3 years, there's definitely been this catapulting of embracing my femininity and my sexuality as a woman and what that looks like. And even just, I have been open sexually as far as talking about it, even though I've been serial monogamous. I didn't have a huge hoe phase. It wasn't quite like that, but it just
I did.
Yeah, and I think that's great. I did in different ways. I had some different relating styles. So I did explore in that way as well. But I think just always having room to reflect, and then in the last couple of years, I was saying, feeling like I get to look at the way I have been open with my sexuality, but from a kind of a more masculine role, if that makes sense, being more masculine in my sexuality. as far as like wanting to achieve the orgasm and like being the more higher drive and, just like these stereotypical things. And like looking at ways of, okay, well, how can I receive more and like not do as much and then be more of a energetic sort of thing. So that's been something I've been doing the last year, which has really been interesting, just reflecting on that. But yeah, as far as doing Yoni castings and how I got into that, what was I doing? Oh, there's this girl in Australia that I found on Instagram, and we were kind of um, connecting on some different things going on in 2020. And she was like a single mom, and we were talking a bit about some things. And I was just talking with her about how things are over there, because it was different than it was here in the States, and especially in Texas. And
Yeah.
and so I was talking with
Yeah,
her, and
because
then
you're in Houston.
yeah, I'm in
You're in
Houston.
Houston, right?
Mhm. But I was talking with her, and then it turns out that she does body casting and a lot of really beautiful work with women and accepting your body. And then Yoni casting is something that she offers. And I remember being like, oh, that's really interesting. Like, I wish that we had that here, or that you were closer, And then she had a kit, so I was able to order the kit from her. And it sat in my studio for like 6 months, and then I was going through a divorce, and it like came with me, and so it was like all this stuff was going on, and I wasn't able to like try it yet, And then once I did, it was a really, really beautiful experience. And, like as you know too, and it's just really, there's not anything like it.
Was she doing it more for different body parts, not specifically for Yoni casting, or you just used it that way?
No, this was a specific for Yonis. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, she did both.
Wow.
So you know how like pregnant women will get like their bellies casted sometimes. She would also do just like kind of, maybe side back and like a little side boob and like kind of like some sexy like sculpture looking things from your own body. And so she would create that sort of art. And then she also did the Yoni casting ceremonies. And I didn't know it at the time when I ordered it. I just, again, like I was sharing before, I approached it at a very like kind of masculine way if you dissect things, right? I wanted the end result of it, not so much the experience, because I didn't really know. And then once I got into it and the way that she gave the instructions, it was like, ask permission. And that was really big for me because I was like, wow, I don't think I've ever asked permission and like connected in that way, before just like doing things to it or putting things in it. And like, even if you think about, like tampons and period products, like, and then all the way to sex and different things that we do without checking with her.
Because sometimes you don't really want it, but you're like, well, I'm on my period, so okay. Like, so you just do, like, I did it today, and I was like, I don't want to wear a tampon. But, I did, and, like, it didn't occur to me to ask, and that's another level of, I guess, respecting your body and tuning into it.
Sure.
And it's something we learn. I haven't taught that to my daughters, and I was never taught that. That's so interesting. So now would you say you've built a habit around that to where you all are way more in tune with it? Like asking is second nature to you?
Yeah, definitely. Especially if there's any sort of like mental confliction. I don't know if that happens with you when it's like, oh, I kind of want to have sex, but also like I don't want to, but then I would just like kind of analyze the shit out of it. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, that's like operating from your head. Yeah.
Exactly. Like, okay, well, how about I just check in? Like, even if you're kind of in the middle of like maybe getting something started with your partner, kissing, getting more intimate, and it's like it kind of just tends to lead to the whole thing. And taking a minute, if there's some confliction in my head, I'll take a minute and and ask for a pause, like, hold on, let me check in. And sometimes the answer is no. And like that is hard to say too, even in like a committed relationship. And yeah, definitely.
Where does that no come from? Is that no like something just deep in our head, heart? Is it actually the body part? I mean, like, what's saying no? You know, because like if
Yeah,
you're in the middle of it, I mean, you've obviously said yes in some way, sort. Well, I don't know. No, I don't want to say that always, but like, let's say
sure.
you are actively engaged in making out or something, you know, then like to check in like that, like, where's that no coming from?
Yeah. You know,
Do
it's
you know?
an interesting question, and I think it comes from different places at different times. And that's what I was saying, where sometimes, you know, I'll be in my head because it's like I did like a whole series on this on my podcast around like expectations is what I called it. When you're in a relationship,
Yeah.
sometimes there's
Ooh,
these
good.
expectations of having sex, and you know, it's not that, like, even when you're in a committed relationship and it's like you have all the safety, you have all the connection and all the conversations, like sometimes you don't want to have sex, and that gets to be okay. And you know, there's a lot of ways that it's not okay, you know, like people get their feelings hurt or they make it mean something about them. And then I am a very like energetically sensitive person. And so I've noticed like I will take on other people's stuff. And that's been a huge growing thing for me to like decipher what's different between mine and other people's, you know, thoughts, feelings, opinions, beliefs. And you know,
Yeah.
knowing that my partner wants to be intimate with me and have sex with me is like kind of one of those things that will be in my head where it's like, oh, well, I kind of don't want to, or like I'm tired, or you know, I'm feeling however. Um, and even still, like I feel like I do have a high normal, you know, drive. Um, and there's so much that goes into the female libido, which I think is, you know, that's probably a conversation for another time. It's all a massive
Truly.
topic.
Yeah. It is. It is.
Yeah.
And then on top of that is like these shoulds, like sex should be this, right? Should be
Oh,
put
yeah.
that in the hole, you know, like and it can be so many other things rather than this thing we've defined it as, you know, and it's
Sure.
that opening up to like, oh, okay, wait, maybe it's a no right there, but it's a yes in this other way, you know, and it's intimacy
Yeah.
and connect another way. And I think those are just learned behaviors that we've got to get the old stuff out, you know. And I think what you're doing with this invites a lot of that, right? We
Yeah.
what like once you did it and once you started doing it, that was probably when you're like, I gotta do this for other people. How did that evolution go for you with what you saw in your own life too?
Yeah. So I actually, the first time I did it with the kit that I got from Australia,
What
my
made you
partner.
finally do it? What made you finally go like, I guess I'll use this kit?
Well, I had wanted to like immediately, but then it was like setting up the time, and you know, I've got kids and like all these other things going on, and it felt like I wanted it to be like a really intentional like thing. And also following instructions like that with something totally new feels really challenging to me. And so I like, you know, I have some perfectionist things that I get to continue to work on, and like, you know, didn't
Yeah,
want to do it
I can
wrong,
relate.
right? Like I
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And so enough time had gone by that I was with another person, and so he's my partner now. His name's Anthony, and he's the co-host on my podcast. And he actually helped me in actually doing the ceremony of it. And so he's very like, he reads and has a lot of comprehension, and so like he felt really comfortable doing it. And I was like, okay, this will actually be really good for me to receive this fully, you know, and not have any control about the doing and how to do it on myself and have to read and like get everything together. I just let him do it, and I like lay down, you know. um and so that was a
Love that.
really beautiful thing on a lot of different levels for me.
And what was the result? Like, what did you feel afterward that made you want to keep sharing this?
Yeah. So we did it, and he was reading some of the instructions and like guiding me in it, you know, like to ask permission and to connect with your body. And that was a little bit, I want to say that was kind of new for me at the time, you know, and like I had shared, yeah, that was like the first time that I was like, oh wait, what? I can ask her, you know, and
Yeah.
really receive an answer too, actually, which is interesting. And it's, you know, like you were saying earlier, where does the answer come from? I don't know, but I think that you can tell the difference the more that you develop that relationship. You can tell if things are feeling more heady and, like you were saying, coming from shoulds or, you know, societal conditionings and different things like that, where it doesn't really feel true and embodied and connected with like your body. And so we did that, and it was really sweet, you know, like laying there and receiving and like kind of just connecting to my body throughout the whole thing. And then we put the plaster in the mold. And whenever I took it out, I was just like, whoa, you know, it's so detailed. Like I have a little scar kind of like on my bikini line, and you can see it. And I was like, whoa, you know, it's just like the little skin imperfections. And I just thought it was really, really interesting and really beautiful to be able to see her from a different angle and like in a different light, because it's one thing to do like mirror work and different things like that, but it's a bit of a, you know, you're like kind of looking down whenever you're looking at her, or like looking at this mirror and trying to, you know, finagle things. But like to have and to hold her too is really, I don't know, I mean, it's really impactful. And you can share too, like what was your, whenever you got yours.
Well, I've got
have
mine
it
right
with
here.
you.
If anybody is looking, this is it. This is it. Hello. And so I participated in a workshop, and so then you can paint it gold. So mine is painted gold, and so I don't know if anybody could. There it is. So I'm holding it up to the camera right now. If anybody's listening, you probably want to go see. So this is our end result, and yeah, I keep it on my vanity table on a little stand. And well, I kind of did it for Justin too. He likes it. And so it faces kind of his side of the bed. But I see it all the time. And it did give me a new appreciation. It made me feel better about myself in some way that I didn't even realize I wasn't feeling that good about myself. Like, I think that, I think coupled with last year doing that Yoni gazing at the retreat we participated in with Sophia and Leola, which I highly recommend their podcasts with them, that they were on this show. If anybody wants to go back and listen to those, they're great. And I think that, you know, I just started to gain a new appreciation, and I'm 50 years old, and I was surprised that I didn't appreciate myself, or I worked so hard on self-love, Sam. Sure. And then I felt like there's this whole part of me that maybe I was not treating as loving. For sure, I wasn't treating as loving as I could and would like to. So it opened me up, and it was a beautiful ceremony, and it pushed me because you partner up with somebody. I thought you were going to be doing it to everyone, but you partner up with somebody that you don't know. And so she did it for me, and I did it for her, and I ended up with this just absolutely fantastic partner, and she was incredible. And we were so, you know, open and loving to each other and accepting and there in the moment, and everybody's feeling vulnerable. And so you're able to just relax a little bit more with that. And I mean, I was self-conscious. People do think I'm very open and all that, but I have some shyness around that. And so it was, and especially because I'm totally sober right now. And so I think that drinking was, like, if we're talking about a hoe phase, you know, there was a lot of alcohol involved with that for me.
Sure.
And so anyway, all those things, like untangling all of that, you know, and just really being there and being open was really, really beautiful. And I think it's very profound that you're offering a home kit to people so they can at least try it. And if anybody's wondering too, let's just address too that it's kind of like getting a mouth, like if you're getting a cast done of your teeth or whatever, right? Like,
yeah, it's
like
the same material. Yeah.
So it's not like toxic or anything like that. Like it can touch your skin and you'll be fine. So, right. So, I'm sure people get concerned with that. So yeah, it did open me up. And then, but I mean, like, what in you was suddenly like, this is like part of my life's work, or part of my life's work right now. Anyway. Did that surprise you, or maybe not? Maybe you were like, yep, this feels like a natural progression. I'm kind of guessing that it might have been like that.
That's so funny. I think a lot of things that I find really valuable, I want to share with people. You know,
Same. That's why we're sitting here. That's why we're here right now.
That's why I have a podcast too, you know?
Yeah.
And I like to learn a lot. And I have done a lot of different modalities of self-growth. You know, and I'm a breathwork facilitator, and that was one of the things that I like, you know, went all out on. And I still am hosting you know, transformational breathwork sessions once a month at a studio, and really find a lot of joy in that and spreading that, because breathwork is really powerful as well. And I think it's just really fascinating. I've always had a fascination with the way the body works. I think it's so magnificent. And like, you know, like I went to school to be a veterinary technician, and like as a young kid, I was like, you know, dissecting critters. I lived in the country, so it's not as weird as it might sound.
Yeah.
And just have always found that fascinating. And then pulling in the mind and the way that the mind works, and then learning more about that, and then learning how they work together has just been like, I can geek out about all of that stuff. And so the journey the last couple of years has been more heavily focused on the body, because I spent a lot of time on the mind and mindset and different things like that. And now it feels more like, okay, we get to come back to the body, because we already spend a lot of time in our minds and learning and wanting to figure things out and know, and you know, all those things, which are great. And you know, I have this belief that is, you know, maybe a bit taboo, or people don't believe it, but that the healing doesn't happen in the mind, it happens in the body. And so there's like talk therapy and all these different things, and it's great to understand and to know, but it's like, okay, but then you know, and like, what are you doing with that, and what are you embodying, and how are you bringing that into your body? Because your body is what heals. Like if you think about cuts and bruises and different things like that, your mind doesn't heal it. It's good to know not to pick at that scab, but other than that, you know, it's the body. And so I kind of went off on a little side tangent there. I forgot what you asked.
That's okay. You know, I was just thinking about that. I don't even remember either, so no big deal. I was just thinking about that today too. I was rereading The Four Agreements. Have you read that book? And in it, I'm close to the end, and he suddenly started talking about taking care of your body. And he said, you know, if you really take care of your body and really love your body, all these things are going to come together. And I was like, well, okay, that kind of took me by surprise. But I did another podcast recently too with Amrit Sandhu, and Amrit was talking about vitality and stemming from the body, and some Vedic philosophy too around it. And it was very interesting, because I think a lot of times, even in like all our spiritual work or psychedelics or whatever you're doing, you can neglect your body, right? Like it's all this other work, spiritual, heady, or above heady, right? Like energetic and all these things. But we are given this body, and I mean, we have it. So like, how should we be tuning into it and using it and paying attention to it, and what power does it have? And I think it's dangerous to neglect that, you know? And so I feel like I've been getting a lot of signals to tune more into my own body, and I like that too. So yeah, sure. I agree with what you were saying. And I think that's really interesting. And if people maybe feel averse to that, it's a good spot to ask why, you know, like why resist that? And, you know, why resist pussy casting or whatever might be happening that can tune you in more to your own healing or body or embodiment, you know?
And I think part of the thing, like you were speaking about spirituality, and you know, we get all heady, and then you're kind of doing this with your hands like upwards. And that's another thing I've noticed, is a lot of things is like trying to get out of the body, you know, and go into like the ethereal and like into outer space, or, you know, the spiritual world. But it's like I think we've got it all backwards, you know, like we need to be coming in, because I mean, not to get like too crazy nerdy about things, but you know, in between all
Go ahead. I don't mind.
Like there's a black hole, you know, and it's all energy, like at the core of all of matter, and everything that we are and everything that we interact with is energy, everything. And so, and there's this black hole. And so if you really like you don't even really have to think too hard to realize that you just go within, you go into the core of who you are, into the core of your being. And that's where the black hole, the energy, and there's some funny saying, I forgot who it is. It's like talking about, looking for God and searching for God. And that if you wanted to hide it from the human being, you just put it in within them, because that's the last place they'll look.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
I mean, and yes, it's like this it's almost like an escaping the body and like pretending that it's less than. And it's
Exactly.
not. It's where we live and it's where we are. And when you're done with that, guess what? You got to come back to this and go use the bathroom. I mean, like,
Yeah.
like that's a fact, right? You're not going to get away from go into the bathroom or whatever, grounding thing that there is.
Right.
And so, yeah, that's very profound. And so that's a lot of what your work is, right? Because you use the word embodiment a lot. And I mean, so what does that really mean to you? Does it mean being in that sacred space in your body? Is that essentially what embodiment means? Can you define that? How do you define
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so it's funny because when you introduced me, and I've recently come up with this new title, it's like, I'm a somatic priestess, which I'm like still kind of trying on, right? But it's like,
it's hot.
really
It's hot. I like it.
It is.
Somatic priestess. Oh, put priestess on anything and it's like, oh, hello, yeah. Embody that.
Yeah. And like, I love it because it has somatic, which is, of the body. And it's a bit more of like a scientific or technical term. And like, I happen to be like a really giant nerd about the body and like the technicality of it. And like, I love all that stuff, anatomy, physiology, and, all those different things. And then priestess is like, historically the forgotten feminine side of as a spiritual guide or leadership. And so I really love like putting those two things together. Because a lot of people put science and spirituality in these two different camps. And the same thing with the mind and the body. They're put in two different camps. And a really fabulous book that I read called Waking the Tiger speaks to that about, he just kind of mentions it, but it felt really profound that in this Western world, we often treat symptoms and, illnesses and dis-ease in the body from either a mind and medical, like working on it with therapy and different things. Like there's that camp, or you try and treat it from the body with like medicines or food or different things like that. So it's like they're kept separate instead of realizing they're one and the same. And there's illnesses and different things. Like I 100% believe that like all illnesses and all disease in the body is created not by the mind. And obviously you wouldn't like, why would I give myself cancer? It's not about that, but it's more like the energetics of things and the way that different patterns and ways of being are passed down to us genetically. And there's a lot of really interesting science about, what's that word? Like epigenetics. So yeah, that's like another science thing, right? And so there's a lot of really interesting science about and studies that they're doing about that, and just the idea that like maybe it's not what we've thought. But anyway, so embodiment to me is coming back into the body and bringing more alignment between the mind and the body, and creating more peace between the mind and the body. Another person that I really love is Michael Singer. And he talks about, what's it like in there, like in your mind and in your experience, what's it like? And sometimes it's not so great, and that gets to be our work is calming the mind and learning to, like not let things upset us so much, and coming back into the body and finding peace in the body.
This podcast is sponsored by Wands. Wands creates luxurious pleasure practice tools that help people become more connected to their bodies. They have a huge selection of incredible items like Yoni eggs, the most gorgeous crystal pleasure wands you've ever seen, free bleed blankets, and my favorites, the trademarked glass cervix wand and the Venus wand, which is their heaviest wand made of stainless steel, and their new ecstatic vibrator. This company is woman-owned and creates products designed to help you become more connected to your body and your pleasure and support the healing of pelvic pain. Get yours today in their always discreet packaging at wands.com. That's wands with two A's, WAANDS.com, and use my link in the show notes to get 10% off or enter the code Amy Edwards at checkout. Again, that's wands, WAANDS.com. The Amy Edwards Show is sponsored in part by Higher Dose. Higher Dose creates wellness tech for everyone with tools, supplements, and body care. And I have 15% off for you with my code MAGIC15. Higher Dose has been featured in Goop, Glamour, Elle, Vogue, Bazaar, Allure, and more. I have their infrared pulsed electromagnetic field, or PEMF mat, which emits electromagnetic waves that mimic natural frequencies found in nature, stimulating and encouraging your body's natural recovery process. It also has 20 pounds of crystals in it and has shown to ease chronic pain, aid in exercise recovery and circulation, deepen your meditations, reduce stress, and improve total body relaxation. I also love their red light face mask. It stimulates collagen, reduces fine lines, regenerates cells, and it's soft and easy to use and store and even travel with. I'm a true fan of these items and more, like their glow serum. So I'm excited to offer you 15% off using my code MAGIC15. Go to the show notes. You can click through on the link right there. Or if you go to Higher Dose, just enter the code MAGIC15 for 15% off. HigherDose.com. This podcast is sponsored by The Collective ATX. If you're looking for the best in hair extensions, it's The Collective ATX. They do mine, and I won't go anywhere else. I've tried them all over the years, and finally, I've found what makes my real hair stronger and fuller, and even works with my natural curl. They keep all their extensions in-house, so there's no wait, and they specialize in no damage to your natural hair like traditional hair extension methods. Plus, they're pros at color and covering gray. I have literally never in my life been happier with my color. They were named a top 200 salon by Salon Today in 2023. They've changed my hair journey. Let them change yours. The Collective ATX link is in the show notes.
And the language of the body is very primal. It's sound, breath, and movement. And so that's a lot of the work that I do is, different embodiment practices and somatic, like dance and chanting and playing music, like ecstatic dance in a way has been really healing for me too and really impactful. And that's one of those little nuggets that I started doing at a young age. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I had a really profound experience doing that. And just the wisdom of the body and the wisdom of the healing that's capable in the body, if we could just get out of the way,
For sure. I mean, I've been kind of obsessed with them knowing that they call your gut your second brain. And that's just like kind of mind blowing, right? You're like, okay, it's actually happening there. I know Dr. Amen talks about that a lot. He's the leading brain health doctor, and he's talking about our gut and what we're doing there and how that feeds our brains. So acting like it's all just happening here is a fallacy, because that's not actually how things function. And you mentioned that book, it's called Waking the Tiger, because I think you said that at the workshop, and I think you mentioned that you like it better than The Body Keeps the Score. Is that right?
Yeah, I do.
I need to read that. I had never even heard of it. It's called Waking the Tiger.
Yeah, I feel like, The Body Keeps the Score, for me.
I love Body Keeps the Score. Yeah, it was great. Yeah.
A lot of people like it, and I had a really hard time getting through it.
It took me like a year and a half. Over a year. I go slow. I read like a page a day.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It's funny because I'm not like that. I listen to things a lot. Like audiobook. I'm more of a listener than a reader. And that, I don't know, it felt really dry, or there was something about it. And also, mind you, I'm really a nerd about these sort of things. So like it's my thing, right? Like you'd think I'd like it.
Yeah.
But I listened to Waking the Tiger, and I just found it a bit more relatable and like really simple about trauma and stress, and the way that all that stuff happens and what it can cause in the body. And it was really fascinating. Yeah.
I'm gonna for sure listen to that because yeah, Body Keeps the Score was pretty sciencey, and I know I really enjoyed it and I learned a lot, but I don't have anything to compare it to. So perhaps if you listen to the other one, then you're like, oh, this is okay. This speaks to me more and is easier to understand because,
Yeah.
I can get kind of in the weeds with even Joe Dispenza and stuff, and it's like
Oh, I
a
love
lot
him.
to get through. I love Joe Dispenza, but sometimes it's a lot. I know Becoming Supernatural took me a long time to read, and
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to absorb it, but it was like it's more, but it's on par with a lot of these things about the energy that we are and
Sure.
our body and all that kind of stuff. So okay,
Yeah.
so let's get back to you. And how was your first pussy casting workshop? How was your
It was
first one?
cool. It was good.
Yeah.
So that was the thing, right? So you had asked, I think that was the thing when I went on a tangent. You had asked about how did I know that I wanted to do this? And
Oh yeah, I did ask.
yeah.
I asked this at some point. Yeah, but go ahead. You can answer anything at any time. It's
Yeah,
all
yeah.
good.
So I like to share things, right? And so I had shared on my story that I was doing it on Instagram, and I'm friends with Leola. And so she was like, "Oh my gosh, this is so cool. Like, I want to do it, or how did you do it?" Curious about that. And I was like, "Oh, cool. Well, do you want like, how do you want to do it? Like, would you want to collaborate on like a workshop situation, or do you want just like a private thing, or tell me more what that means?" And she was like, well, I'd be down to like do a co-workshop, and co-facilitate, and we could do something here at my place. And so we did it at her place almost a year ago now. And it went really
And
well.
that was the first. That was the first one, huh? I remember seeing that. So wow, that's so cool. I
Yeah,
didn't
that was
realize
the
it was
first
that
like
recent. Yeah.
official. Well, was that the first one? I think I was trying to do, so that's the thing. I was trying to do them and like market them in Houston, and it's like it's different here.
Yeah, yeah, it's not Austin.
I'm having a hard time here with
Yeah,
it.
you need to move to Austin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I know. But I think I did do one with like a couple. I had two women come, and they were some friends of mine, and so that was really sweet. But yeah, I did kind of have like a fire at my ass around it because I remember I had my sister-in-law come, and like I was like, "Can I practice on you?" And so she's like, "Yeah, we're really close and really similar." And so I was really grateful that she, is who she is and like was open to that. She's my brother's wife, and it's like that might be weird to a lot of people.
No, it's great though.
Yeah.
And then how did she feel afterward? Was it powerful for her? And did you start to notice like, oh, this is for real?
Well, I think the thing with that is like she was more helping me with like the technical aspect of it. And so my regret about it is that I didn't make it like a ceremonial thing for her. It was more
Mm-hmm.
like I was trying to get the timing right, and so I could offer it to other people and like know what I'm doing timing wise, because there is some steps and there is time that like you have to be cautious about, as well as the like proportions of how much water, how much material, and different things like that, because there's directions, but like it's not meant for pussies. And so I had to like
Yeah.
kind of make up the be a mad scientist in the kitchen with it. um
Yeah.
but
Yeah, I guess you
that's
did. You
her.
needed guinea pigs. Yeah.
Yeah. So she kind of had that more of that in experience. Um and then so the women that did come, they have really similar experiences, and it is really profound. It is really powerful, to first of all be vulnerable with a sister in that way, because we go to gynecologists and things like that. But I know for me that I have I leave my body with things like that. Like I'm not totally there. I'm like, all right, when's this going to be over kind of thing. It's not like nobody asked, can you put that speculum inside me, and it's just this whole like very sterile thing. And I've actually stopped going, but that's something else. But um,
Wow. Okay. I'm
yeah.
interested. All right. Yeah.
And so yeah, a lot of our interactions with our yoni is that. It's very scientific and very sterile, or, you know, maybe with a partner. But even still, it's a lot of women don't have like a very intimate relationship with their own pussies on them by themselves. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And then if they, you know, I know in the gynecologist for me, like I'll like look off into this, you know, sky or whatever, and just kind of like you said, kind of check out and like take a breath, try to relax, because it's hard to relax there. And you
Sure.
know, I'm just like trying to get through it, get it over with. And um I'm wondering how this helps people who have maybe experienced trauma where they have dissociated, maybe, you know, from sexual trauma or something like that. Have you worked with many women like that? And if anybody was listening and had experienced that, you know, this sounds like a very healing thing to do, where you're way more in tune with it rather than like, let me check out, you know?
Yeah. I would say that, you know, I know a lot of women, I mean, even myself, right? Like I know a lot of women have had sexual trauma. And so it's like, I would be betting that yes, somebody has, but nobody has like out forth and come and said that at any of the workshops that I know of for sure.
Yeah.
And too, like everybody gets to have their own journey with like how they go about healing that. And I think that these workshops are not for everybody, and they are for everybody, if that makes sense. No?
Yeah, they are for
Okay.
everybody. Yeah, but I mean, but no, I agree. I mean, but I mean, like everybody's not ready right at this moment, you know.
Yeah, yeah. And
Like
I think you get
I have
to,
plenty of friends that I told I was doing this, and they were like, "What?" You know, I have a lot of friends that are just like, not at all." My best
you're off
friend
the
Elizabeth,
wall,
she's like,
Amy.
"No fucking way." She's like, "You would do that, yeah." So I'm like, "Yeah, you know, I'm getting my pussy cast. Yeah, hell yeah." So, okay, so. I know that you had experienced depression too. And I don't know if that was after childbirth, but I know that that's part of your journey. And how is that part of the embodiment that you've experienced, you know, this growth? What have you seen as far as your depression journey and being able to move out of that or through that, or, you know, experience less of it?
Yeah. Um, yeah, I've had different bouts of depression. It seems to, you know, be one of those like seasonal things.
Yeah.
Every couple of years it'll come on. It's funny because I was kind of half joking, like, oh, I'm due for one this summer, you know. We'll see what happens.
Oh shit.
Um,
Yeah.
but like so far so good, which is really interesting to notice for me. But yeah, I mean, I think that with depression, you know, it's being stuck in the past, a lot of it for me, and then my understanding of it, and anxiety is worrying about the future. And whenever we're doing either of those things, we're not in the now, and we're not in our body and in our experience now. And so just like finding home again, and finding, that's what I say a lot, is like coming home to the body. You know, it's like coming home. And if you can feel safe and feel love, and know that you're safe in your body and in your own world. And a way to do that is like to be accepting of your body and of your world, and all the variety of emotions and feelings that we get to have, instead of like shutting them down and trying to wishing they weren't there, or, you know, talking yourself out of it. And one of the other teachings, and why movement can be really, really powerful, um, is because there's, you know, if you think about the word emotion, it's energy in motion. And so we have these emotions, and it's energy. And it's like, if you think about it being in your body, and rummaging around and going, you know, you get excited or you get really sad. And so it's like, how does that look like in your body, and how would you move? And if you don't complete, that's why I like that Waking the Tiger book. He talks about like, if you don't complete that fight or flight, that stress inducing cycle, then that energy has to go somewhere. And so it gets stuck in the tissue and it gets stuck in your body. And the body keeps the score, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so
Yeah.
you have all these things, these emotions that are stuck and stagnant in your body, and that causes, pain, and whether that's physical pain or emotional pain, it's all kind of one and the same. It's just
Yeah.
it's in your experience in one way or another. And so dancing, particularly in a way that is not in your head, right? Like it's not rehearsed. You're not trying to look right. You're not trying to do it step by step, based off of some choreography. It's you allow your body to move with whatever music it is you chose. And that's what I found really impactful with ecstatic dance is, music is so inspiring, like the muse, right? Music. And so it's inspiring to your body. And if we allow ourselves to move and not have, like, oh, I don't know how to dance. People say that, and I think it's ridiculous.
It is.
Like, oh, I can't dance, or oh, I can't sing.
I
And
mean,
it's
like,
like,
can you
says
walk? I
who?
mean, it's like,
Exactly.
can you take steps from side to side? Or it's like,
Uh-huh.
what? Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. And all
You
of
know
all
what?
of those things are set out of insecurity.
Yeah, they
Go
really
ahead.
are. Or something someone told you along the way and a story that you've adopted, that
Mm-hmm.
you've decided was true. And I was just looking at my phone because I posted a story. It's gone. I don't know where my old stories are. But I posted a story yesterday of something I saw on Instagram, and it was like the power of dance. And here it is. Here it is. Here it is. No, that's not it. I don't know where it is. And it was the power of dance, and it was talking about here it is. Exercise beats out SSRIs for depression treatment, but just dancing has the largest effect of any treatment for depression. And so dancing was like far and away higher for treating
Wow.
anything than anything else, walking, yoga, anything. And so I thought that was just really incredible because, I mean, so many things say this one simple thing, like get up and dance, and like we just don't do it. Like it's as simple as turning on a
Yeah.
song and then like moving around, and like
Yeah.
and we'll neglect doing that one simple thing when it can be completely transformative and powerful. So I'm really
Yeah.
glad you brought that up. Yeah.
Yeah. That's like some of the coaching and stuff that I do too, right? Is like that's the somatic piece of the somatic priestess is of the body, and how can we come back to the body and heal through her and release the shame and all those different things. And that's where the yoni casting comes in as a tool. But even just
Yeah.
dancing can release shame, because there's so much shame around our bodies and the way it moves and the way it looks. And like, especially for women, we take the brunt of body shame and sexual shame in our culture. And so I'm just,
Yeah.
kind of on a mission out here to help women get out of that.
Yeah, and is that like a go-to for you if you notice like, oh my gosh, could this be another season of depression creeping up on me, like is that okay, let me go into my practices. Is that one of your main ones, maybe breath work and dancing?
Yeah, I've found dancing to, like, it's funny you're saying that. I found dancing to be more impactful in a much shorter time. I'm kind of a go
Yeah.
big or go home sort of person. I like the longer breathwork journey, where you're like really into it,
Oh
like an
yeah.
hour long or something.
Yeah.
And it can be hard to find that time, especially, I've got two boys and busy life and those different things. And then also the time afterwards, right? Because I feel like breath work kind of like puts you in this different world. But dancing is really powerful. I did it yesterday because I was so angry and so frustrated about some different things that were coming up in the miscommunication. And so I just turned on a couple songs and I was dancing, and it's like, that's what I think is so magnificent about the body is like, you don't even have to understand how it's happening. You don't have to know which childhood trauma caused you to be this way. It's like you just move your body in a way that feels good to it, and like it's absolutely fascinating the way that things will trickle down later in your life just because you were moving intuitively and in a way that your body, just wants to. We get to like loosen up, people get so uptight about things and tense and stressed
Yeah.
and
No, it's so true. It's so true. Do you teach your kids that? Is it a practice that you do with them?
yeah, well, so it's funny because I didn't used to, and then I realized, oh my gosh, like what have I been doing? Like why have I
Yeah,
not thought
I
about
know.
this? And so
You've been packing lunches and
um
shit. I mean, that's what you get. You get wrapped up in day to day,
right,
and then you're
right.
just like, oh shit, I forgot to like teach them a fundamental practice of life. I
Right.
think, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, but we put on whatever music they like. They like different songs that, it's like it doesn't matter what the song is. I think people can get like hung up on the right thing. But you just put on whatever music feels good to you. And especially like if you think about music, like whatever emotion you're in and what you're feeling, you tend to pick music that like feeds into that, or helps you maybe uplift and feel a little bit better if you're listening to more like uppity music. But a lot of the times you'll pick music that like you're kind of already feeling. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really wise of the body and, kind of hijacking the mind in a way, a little covert, like subconscious thing, right? Where it's like, can we just dance to
Yeah.
this? Can we just dance to that music and we'll feel better,
Yeah, you're so right. I just read something about that the other day too. That's really cool. Um, Another question. So I was looking at maybe your website or something like that, and you have something on there. It says, Yoni kits and collaborations, and the importance of women doing embodiment work. And you put the word work in quotes. And I was
Mhm.
really curious why you put the word work in quotes.
Because I feel like as a culture, we have kind of this negative association with work, and
Mm-hmm.
like that it needs to be like not fun or take a lot of
Hard.
effort
Yeah,
or
hard work, right?
hard work. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
we're very
Mm-hmm.
hardworking here, and I don't. I've struggled with calling it work. I'm like, oh, I kind of like the word medicine, but then there's kind of there's a whole other side to that too. But that's been feeling a little bit more aligned to me, medicine, like the medicine that I bring in the world, instead of the work that I do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and
Yeah, I
so
mean
I just like to.
that just automatically feels different, right? The work I do in the world has got this masculine thing going on, the medicine and then that's almost too like involved in healing. It's like, where's this middle ground of like stuff we do or something like that, I don't know what that would be. I do a Reiki mantra that I changed. I'm a Reiki master and I learned the
Mhm.
Reiki mantra, but I didn't like the Reiki mantra. And because it says like I will not anger, and I don't like using those words, so I
Sure.
just shifted it around. But one of the things in it and that I kind of tweaked was, just for today I will work easy. And I say that in
Mm,
the mirror every day, and just to kind of
nice.
remind myself, just get in flow and relax and calm down and quit forcing stuff, and everything's all
Yeah.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I think also another reason that I don't remember where what I know what you're talking about. I'm not sure where and what the exact context is, but encouraging women to do this work because I also think that there's like this belief that self-development and self-growth and all those different things has to be hard as well, right? Like we're struggling and like trying to change our habits and think differently and all these different things. But like through pleasure, like there's different ways that you can heal through sex. And that was another podcast episode that I did about like healing through sex and how all that's with the body,
Yeah.
and just by moving and having fun and like what if healing could be pleasurable? Uh,
I
like
mean, why not? Right?
yeah, that's the only kind
Why
of
not?
like self work I'm trying to do.
Yeah. I know. Like, what if? Why not? I mean, expand your possibilities, right?
Mhm.
Like, I love that. I love that. So let's say that someone came to you and they were like, oh, I hear you do pussy casting. I don't know about that. Should I do it? What do you say to them?
Um, what, you know, should is an interesting word. That's where my mind first goes, right? Like looking at that, the shoulds that like who's telling you you should or should not. That I don't know. It's an interesting word. And I hear it a lot, and that's actually what I say, the should. It's interesting to
Yeah.
examine that, well, do you want to? Or like, why is it
I don't know.
interesting
I
to
don't know.
you?
What
Why are
am I
you
going to get
asking me
out of it?
that?
Yeah,
Um,
they say I don't know. I mean, like, what am I going to get out of it? Why
sure.
should I participate in something like that? What's it going to bring to my life? Why? What do you
Yeah.
say to them?
Well, I would say what I've witnessed it bringing to other women's life and what it's brought to my life. Um, a new love and appreciation for the most shamed part of any human body on the planet is
Mm.
the yoni, like I had shared before, women experience the most, like we experience the brunt of body shame and expectations around how we're supposed to look within our bodies. And then, in sexual shame as well. And, guys don't have a problem whipping their dicks out and like swirling it around and like thinking it's funny. But like, we don't ever do that.
Mm-mm.
There's a lot to unpack within that just little statement too, because there's a lot of reasons that like you might not. Um,
Yeah.
And so it is a delicate thing. And so I think that you just get to, look within yourself. And like, if it's curious to you, I always say to follow curiosities.
I think what you just said too breaks down this kind of like barrier where you suddenly just like, I know if I was just that person putting myself in those
Mm-hmm.
shoes, I would probably just feel like, yeah, you're so right. It is so shamed. And I've experienced that. And I know people who have, and you've heard a lot of derogatory terms and people say things over the years. And a lot, just like a sort of stew of stuff can pop into your head. And you're like, yeah, that makes sense, And what if because I know you read the Pussy Reclamation book. I haven't read that for
Yeah.
some reason. I don't know why.
Oh, it's
And
so good.
I need to
I'm
listen to it.
rereading
I know.
it.
Really? Should I listen to it
Uh-huh.
or should I read it? Should I listen?
It works either way. I listened to it the first time, and this time I wanted to like really slow and just read it. I'm a very slow reader,
Yeah,
so I figured with
me
my
too.
second
Me too.
time it's fine.
Page a day. So yeah, but I mean, like, you used that word reclamation too. And for some people, I don't know if it's even a reclamation because it's not reclaiming. You're just claiming in the first place. So it's
Yeah.
not even been claimed, by you ever. And so it's this coming home to yourself. And th- that's a beautiful answer. And I, if anybody's listening that's toying with the idea, I would say do it because, you know, I mean, what's the worst that's going to happen? You
Right.
you walk away with a pussy cat, you throw it away. I don't know, like, or you
Uh-huh.
appreciate it. You will most likely you will have something that you're like, oh wow, that's a trip, and you'll
Yeah.
have a new appreciation. So
Yeah,
yeah,
and what I will say too is there hasn't, except for I feel like except for me and Leola, there's not really been anybody that I've heard from the workshops that was like, oh yeah, like I really want to do it. I have no problems with it. Like me and Leola, it's so funny. We were like,
yeah.
oh yeah, like everybody's gonna love this. It's gonna be great. And then it was like kind
You're
of a
like,
hard
I don't have
sell.
pants on right now. I'm ready to go.
Literally.
Yeah.
But it's been
Yeah.
interesting that it's kind of a hard sell. Like that was really shocking to me and her when we were planning the second one, and just how they've turned out really well. And I love the groups of women that have come. I think we've had like 6 and 8. And it's kind of nice to keep it around that anyway. But I almost thought that we were like people would be banging down the doors to come. I was really surprised, and I think she was too. But I say all that because like the women that have joined have all had really transformational experiences, like what you were sharing, and just having a deeper connection and a deeper appreciation, which then leads to more curiosity down after the workshop. And what are you going to look at next, and how can you incorporate more self-love and to her specifically.
Mhm.
And there's lots of different ways that you can do that. um there was something else I was going to share about it. Well, I think too, like our sexuality is attached to like our vibrancy and the way that we move in the world and like our flirtation. And that was one of the things in Pussy that she talks about, is like having vibrancy and being turned on by life and excited by things. And so that's like, there's sexual energy within that. And if we're so shut down from it, it's like kind of a half-life in a way, like what if your lives could have more pleasure? What if you could be more vibrant? And I truly believe that shame is the death of vibrancy and authenticity. And so anything that you can do to work towards releasing shame is a good thing,
I agree. Yeah. I 100% agree. And so, and it's not a lifelong commitment either. You could just treat it as like an experiment, try it,
Yeah.
people probably done that with numerous other things. Maybe you've tried it with, mushrooms or something. So it's like, just try it. And then, see what happens. Right. And then we slowly expand that comfort zone, just out, stretches back out, and then it's easier the next time, and then it's easier and it goes a little wider. So I think that's just like, again, not getting too up in your head about it, right? Just relax a little bit, say yes, and then take one step at a time rather than looking at the entire hill or something like that. So I think that's just really incredibly beautiful. And as we're coming up on wrapping up today, I just want to ask you if there's anything that we missed, anything that we didn't get to today that you really wanted to talk about or address, or even anything that you want to reiterate or anything on your heart.
The only thing that came up, because you were talking about being in our heads, and there was one thing I feel like we were talking about being at the gynecologist and separating ourselves. And a part of the ceremonies and the workshops that I host in person, and then also with these kits, I'm going to be doing a virtual ceremony, which I'm really excited about. It'll be interesting.
Very cool. Yeah. Oh my gosh, cool.
Yeah. I feel very like protective and like of the sacredness and of the holiness and of the like the gravity of what we're doing, I know people like to giggle and, oh, it's so uncomfortable and different things like that. I've had those experiences as well, but it's like, can we also stay present and just bringing that into like what we've been talking about, being present, bringing our attention and our energy back into our bodies so we can be truly present with what we're doing and feel the discomfort and like move through it instead of like trying to stuff it down. Just like being that tether, to always stay. And I guess that could be like, at the end of it, right? At the end of like a last message you were talking about is like finding the space within yourself to hold on to the emotions that come up. And instead of stuffing them down, how can you move your body? How can you move through those emotions? Because like I was saying, they're energy. And so how can we move and continue to cultivate so that we're not like stuffing more and more and more, and there can be more healing in this world and, just more connection to our bodies and then to each other and into the world. And so it's a beautiful ripple effect if you can work within yourself.
Yeah. And it's part of the whole human experience. So, give it a whirl, be in it. And
why not?
That's
right?
Really incredibly beautiful. Why not? Why not? And I want to put a link for anybody that wants. Do you have planned the virtual workshop yet? So people are going ahead and ordering their boxes. You do? When is that?
Yeah. So we're actually like, I'm in the middle of this pre-launch. So they went on sale beginning of June, and if you order by July 1st, then you get access to the virtual Zoom ceremony that I'm going to be hosting. And so that's going to be complimentary. And I think in the future, I'll do them as like an add-on or something. But just for this first one and for the people that are supporting the pre-launch, to have that available to them. And so that virtual workshop is going to be August 4th, which is a Sunday, from 2 to 4:30 Central Time.
And the kit is $150. Is that correct?
Yeah.
How much is it?
Yeah, 150.
It's totally
and
affordable.
that includes shipping. So there's not like an additional
Oh,
cost
that's
there.
so nice.
In
And
the United States.
I saw it in the United States. And I saw the kit or a prototype of it or something. And it is so cute. And it says when that pussy is ceremonial grade, right? Did you come up with that?
Yeah.
So good. It's so funny and cute. And so it was really, really pretty. And I mean, I just thought like, and that I think that that's a great price for it too. I think it's a little low, Sam, actually. But but you know what? For your, I don't know. I mean, I would pay more for that. But anyway, I think it's a great introductory price for people and like to get to try it. And I mean, that's just amazing. So congratulations on putting this together.
Thanks.
Really, what a cool thing. When I saw your email, I was like, please come on the show because I just want to share this and like want people to be able to experience it. And I think them having that option to do it themselves is really, really cool. And I know that I'd like to do it again with Justin, and he loves to do ceremonies and things like that. And so, I'll have to order one too. So anyway, if you've still got time to order it by July 1st, and everything will be in the show notes. And how else can people connect with you if they want to perhaps work with you in other ways or just discover more about you?
Yeah. Well, so I wanted to say too, the kit is until July 1st when you get access to that virtual thing, but they're just going to be available whenever. So if you want to order after, you totally can. And then you come with step-by-step instructions. And I even made a video for it. So you get all access to all that. Yeah. For people like me that like don't like to read instructions, I made a video for you.
So smart. Like get the QR code, watch the video. I'm sure it's like, that's so smart.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I think that's one of the really cool things, like you were talking about doing it with Justin, is it being like a really fun, like tantric date night activity. Like it was for me the first time I did it, but like to bring even more intention and more like sensory and roses and different things like that. So yes, you can get in touch with me. I have a website. It currently is sacredspacesstudio.org, and just on Instagram, kind of where I hang out right now. I
Perfect.
do,
And everything's in the show notes too. Everything will be
for sure. Awesome. I do coaching and mentorship, and then I also do breath work in person and kind of just some things here and there. But a lot of what I'm passionate about is like mentorship in reconnecting to your body and reconnecting to your femininity and in that whole journey.
Yeah. So beautiful. I love it. And I'm just so happy that we got to connect and share more about this for anyone who's just even curious and connecting more with your own body. Like, do it if it comes up and you're curious. So Sam, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me, and I appreciate your energy and you're just like how open and warm and loving you are. So thank you for inviting me and letting me be in your space too.
Thank you. I received that. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And so thank you so much for being here. Everybody go follow Sam. Check it out. Order your box. Order it for your significant other too, if perhaps you are a man with a female partner listening. So anyway, I'm so grateful for this conversation, so grateful to keep opening up in all these different ways, because we have so much expansion that is here for the taking if we're willing to say yes to it. So thank you all for being here today and for tuning in. It means the absolute world to me. If you enjoyed this show, share it with a friend. Write me a review on Apple Podcasts. Hit the stars on Spotify, wherever you're listening. Or send feedback. If you haven't signed up for my newsletter, I see every single reply. So you can reply to my newsletter. You can sign up at amyedwards.com or amyedwards.info. And .info has tons of shows on there and lots more, including all the other stuff I do. So check me out there. Connect with me on socials at Real Amy Edwards. And of course, connect with our guest too, Samantha_Charles. And thank you so much for being here. Keep shining bright. I love you so much. Till next time.
This has been the Amy Edwards Show from Overcome Studios. Remember to rate, review, and subscribe. And thank you so much for being here. Sign up for our newsletter at amyedwards.com.